The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans. It is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. The Ride Home Rants podcast wants to thank you for listening and let everybody know that we do offer monthly subscriptions to help support the show in other ways other than listening and downloading each episode. What you will get with each subscription is you will get bonus episodes that aren't released to everybody. You will also have a chance to ask me anything each and every month where I will put out a special episode just to answer your questions. You will also get more exclusive content that is not released to everybody. To subscribe to the show, go and click on the link in the description of this episode, and I look forward to your added support and to help us keep this show going. The Ride Home Rants podcast is also brought to you by Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming products at an affordable price. Products are made in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of our supplies are from other Ohio-based companies. You can find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at buddysbeardcare.com. Use the promo code BONO15 and he will save you 15%. I've been using these products for a little over 6 months now, and my beard has never felt healthier. It has never grown faster, and according to my wife, it has never felt softer. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by former guest of the show in Matt Landowski in Sweet Hands Sports. Elevate their game with Sweet Hands Sports. Our sports gloves are designed for champions, providing ultimate grip and durability. Achieve greatness with every match. Choose Sweet Hands Sports for the winning edge. Grip your victory at sweethandsports.com. Use the promo code BONO10 and he will save you 10%. He has sent me a complimentary pair of golf gloves. They are so comfortable, durable, and breathable. You won't find a better pair of gloves out there. Again, sweethandsports.com, promo code BONO10. Lastly, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Deemed Fit, a clothing company from first responders for first responders. These products are so comfortable. They look great. They have great messages on them. They are provided to support first responders, especially those who worked through COVID. All of the proceeds are going to helping veterans and first responders with their mental and physical health. This is a great cause. I support anything that has to do with our first responders and our veterans. Again, deemedfit.co, promo code Mike Bono will save you 20%. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have a great guest from us today. He comes to us from Cleveland, Ohio. He works at Case Western University at the Weatherhead School of Management in the Graduate Admissions Program, and that is Steve Scheidt joins the show. Steve, thank you for joining, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be here. Boy, with that intro, you really build things up. That's fantastic. And much appreciated, I might say.
That's what I like to do here. I like to build people up on this show. That's kind of what I like to do here. You're originally from Ohio, and you grew up in the suburbs. Which town did you actually grow up in? Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, I consider myself a Clevelander in Ohio, and even though I wasn't born here, originally a Chicago native, but I say Cleveland by way of Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay.
I originally from Chicago, and when I was very, very young, 1 years old, at the time, my father had an opportunity to work and travel to Nairobi, Kenya, to get some international experience. It was supposed to be a year of international experience, and somehow he convinced my mom, who was then pregnant with my sister at the time, to move to Nairobi, Kenya, and relocate the growing family there, and spent the first, well, essentially the first 5 years of my life in Africa, before eventually coming back to Cleveland, and then settling down and living and working here. But that was my beginning. My worldview started with Nairobi, Kenya. So that's and I'll never forget that.
That is just an awesome start to everything, going thinking it was just going to be talking about the suburbs of, of
I
Ohio.
caught, yeah, I threw you for a loop there. But everyone's journey, as whether it's people are born and raised in the same place, or maybe have had different world experiences and have traveled the state, the country, the world. It's you just appreciate different ways of living and different ways of being when you have a chance to experience that. For example, when I came back from Nairobi, I was still not even in elementary school, and went to the Chicago Zoo. And one of the first questions I asked was, "Why are all the animals behind bars and in cages?" Because I didn't know any different. I just thought you go on safari and you see lions and zebras and elephants and all those things. And we have pictures. We got pictures, and they're just right next to the car. But that's your worldview, and it's shaped by the people, the conditions, the images around you at the time. And that was my worldview. And I didn't even know what a zoo was. So can you believe it? And here we are back in Cleveland, and we've got a phenomenal zoo. And so I think everything does come full circle.
That would be a big culture shock, I guess, if you're used to seeing a mountain safari and then all of a sudden you're in a zoo. Like, what the heck's going on here? Like, why are they all locked up?
Yeah, and you know what? The one of the things that I'll never forget, and that I always take with me, is that some of these creatures, these animals that I got to see up close in the natural habitat in the wild. Some of them are endangered, and likely at some point, will be extinct. And that's just kind of one of the things that you think about, like that not everyone is going to have the opportunity, whether a zoo or in the natural environment, to see some of these creatures that again, I sort of grew up with many, many, many years ago.
Yeah, that's a great start, and to everything, especially getting that experience and growing up. But I believe you also, once you got back to the States, you played some sports growing up. Which sports did you play, and how did that help shape you to where you're at today?
Oh yeah, and we'll fast forward a lot because we're going way back into the vault here. If I've got to, I got to start telling some compelling stories if this is going to get some traction. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding. But no, but in all seriousness, whatever the activity, whether it's athletics or some co-curricular activity, as far as what I got involved with early, and I'm really glad I did. My dad introduced me to the game of golf when I was in middle school. And that's not maybe particularly exciting for a lot of people, but guess what? Most of us at some point or another are going to get invited to a golf outing, or we've got a
Absolutely.
golf fundraiser, and you got to know how to do it. But anyway, so I just thought that was a fantastic sport because you get individual, skill set development and contribution, but you're part of an aggregate team. So you kind of get the best of both, but you're not necessarily playing with your teammates at the same time, which is kind of ironic, which is it's very interesting
Right.
as far as sports when you think about it. But relative to the other sports, so golf was. I'm so glad I got introduced to the game of golf, and then later coached golf at the high school level. But and ended up also rowing in college in between there.
Yeah, I'm a big golf guy. Love the golf. Not very good at it, but I love the game of golf. Actually, believe it, two of the sponsors of the show are golf companies with Shankit Golf and Sweet Hand Sports. Yeah, I love
Wow.
anything
Okay.
golf. My grandfather on my mom's side actually held his pro card for a while, so got me into golf for a little bit.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and good. And actually, when I back in the day, this is just part of my fun fact. At least it's fun to me for a second. I've actually, speaking of golf, have witnessed two different holes in one. One was in high school. A teammate, I'm sorry, a competitor. I wish it were a teammate, but it was a competitor at the time. He got a hole in one, and but the irony is, and I like to tell this part of it because it kind of pains me. The ball was sailing in the air. It was a beautiful looking shot, and we all thought it was going to end up okay. And I was the next person to hit on the tee. So I bent down while the ball was in the air, teed up my ball, and everyone started cheering as it went in the cup. And as I was teeing up my ball, so technically I didn't see it, but for all intents and purposes, I did. So anyway, that was the first one. The second one was seeing my dad get a hole in one, and that was really cool too. But my dream bucket list, number one on my bucket list, is being able to get a hole in one and playing with my dad and having him see my hole in one,
yeah.
just like I saw his hole in one. So that's my dream bucket list. So I got to get a lot more golf in this summer and fall just to get enough par threes to have that chance.
Absolutely. I when I was I think I was going into my freshman year of high school. There was a little like par three course like right in where I grew up in a little town in Fallsby, West Virginia, and we would go
Mhm.
from time to time. Little 9 hole par three. You can kind of work on your short game a little bit, and I hit a hole in one there myself. I shanked it real bad off the rip, and I was like, oh man, and I kind of like turned away, but the green was next to a hill. It bounced off the hill, rolled down, and just couldn't have played it better if I tried to play it this way. It rolled right into the cup, and my buddies had to tell me that I hit a hole in one, like because I was already turned around and like walking back to, to my back to put my club away and be like, oh, now I got to go find this ball, and ended up hitting a hole in one, and it was pretty cool. The little course that it was went to the local paper and actually had my name in the paper. My parents still have the paper clipping that I hit a hole in one um, at the little local nine hole par three course up on Highland Hills in Fallsview, West Virginia. So it was a pretty cool experience. Haven't hit one since. Haven't even came close to hitting one since. But it was just one of those like freak bounces that I had that kind of worked out for me.
Well, you've got a story that many golfers wish to tell one day. So we'll keep trying. I will keep trying, and I appreciate you sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did grow up, I believe, in an Italian family. So what was it like growing up after when you got back from Africa, and everything like that? But growing up in an Italian family, as a fellow Italian myself, I always love to hear how it differs, but it's the same. It seems like.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I 50% Italian by birth.
Okay.
Mother maiden name Palumbo. So,
Yeah.
and I know you asked about coming back in the Italian family, but this is important for context. My mother's father, back in the day, was a restaurateur and owned different restaurants called Palumbo's. So they would serve breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Italian food. But I guess growing up in at least through my mom's side, because my dad is German Croatian, but just the whole idea of having people come together over food,
Yeah.
whether that was homemade meatballs with a pinch of this and a pinch of that, no recipes written down,
None.
from different aunts and grandmas and people, and just only certain smells of the kitchen that you can get from those particular people preparing the meals. It's just amazing when you think about the things that people pass down. And so what I remember is just having very enjoyable times and meaningful conversation and experiences over, home cooked meals, and just appreciating that time, and really, that understanding that we can do that, and we should learn from different cultures who spend hours at the dinner table or at the lunch table, even during the workday, over a good conversation, if it's fruitful and you're connecting with that person. So I think, just making meaningful connections is just in life is probably one of the most important things, if not most important, because in the end, well, we're kind of all going to be nearing a half century. I'm almost there right now, but it's really just about the quality of the relationships you have with people, and making a mark. And that's what I was taught is just, it's all about people and making sure that you're one of the good people when you get talked about.
1,000% on that one. It's always about it. Always seems to revolve around food when it comes to Italians here. I am a smidge under. I always say I'm a smidge. I always say I'm full blooded. I'm a smidge under full blooded Italian. My dad is full blooded Italian. My mom is half Italian, half Slovak. So it's about 75% Italian.
Okay.
So grew up in a very big family, and it was always Sunday sauce, as we called it. It was my grandmother's would cook basically all day, starting from after church in the morning till it was dinner time, and then we all met at one table, and you were right, it was hours. You didn't feel like you were at the table for hours, but after, just course after course, and just plate after plate, and just conversations going on everywhere. Everyone was kind of having a different conversation, but the same conversation at the same time. And it's a great experience for anybody to witness that. And to this day, like my wife, even every Sunday we have sauce, and we don't.
Yeah.
We moved to Ohio. I'm about 2 hours away from the Italian portion of my family, a little closer to my wife's family here. But every Sunday we know it's sauce day, and it's Sunday sauce, and she keeps that tradition going, and it's just me, her, and my son. And I think it's the only time we actually sit down at our dinner table to actually eat a meal together with our work schedules and my son's school and extracurriculars. We don't always get to eat together, but Sundays for sure, we make sure that we sit down to a meal. And yeah, we're there for hours, just sitting there picking at stuff, and just talking and catching up on our week. And it's just a great thing to have happen. And I wish a lot more people had that experience to sit down to a meal with someone.
Right, and this observation isn't particular to like the Italian community, but one thing I do think that always kind of tickles me when I think about it is after a huge meal of spaghetti and meatballs and sausage and this and that, and you're all ready to go, and you're ready to go back home, and you're kind of getting wrapped up. The hosts usually have an Italian meal, makes you a sandwich just in case you get hungry on the way home. Just in case you get hungry, or in case you get stuck in traffic. Just take this dessert. You'll need this in case you need it. I just thought it was always funny that just to get from point A to point B, you need a sandwich.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because my wife is still always shocked that every time we visit my family back home, whether it's a holiday, just get together, we can get together all together. Like she was like, they're always sending us with leftovers. She's like, does your family just like not like leftovers? Why are they always giving us leftovers? Like, no, that's so we can eat it on the way home. That's literally going to be the snack for the ride home. Now, we have a little bit bigger of a commute than most people do when they're coming from an Italian family, but she's still, I mean, it's been 10 years, and she's still just like, they're just always giving us leftovers. I was like, yeah, that's just, it's either a sandwich, it's some dessert, or it's something that's left over. And I was like, yeah, that's actually meant to eat on the way home. That's not, there's no way that's supposed to make it home.
Right. And I'm convinced that there's going to be another version or a category of food or snack that is meant for from the front door to the car in case you get hungry. From the front door to the car, because we've already got the car to the way home covered with that extra snack
There's still that walk to the car.
Because that can, I mean, there can be some long walks, driveways can be long, and not everyone has digested the dinner. It's just, yeah, you might need something for that walk to the car. Yeah.
I really feel like that's going to be a thing here very soon. I hope it is. I like my again 10 years we've been together. My wife's just still shocked. She's like, I don't know like how you eat that much and you stay as thin as you are. She's like, I don't understand it. Like, where does it all go? I was like, I wish I had an answer for you. I really do. I was like, but since I've met you, I've put on about 60 pounds. So let's not say I'm still thin here. So
I, I don't know. I might not say that, yeah, too often out loud. But hey, maybe it's fun that you guys go out and do stuff. Yeah. That means that means you're enjoying some stuff and some food. That's
absolutely. For sure. Getting back to a little bit more about you, I believe you went to the University of Dayton for both undergrad and your graduate school. Why did you pick Dayton, and what are your degrees in?
yeah. No, yeah, going back, and it's interesting because my son is a senior in high school, so it's just fitting that you asked that question. I'm thinking back on my own high school, college decision days. But I was the kind of person that, I wanted to be close enough to home where I could get back on a weekend and get some things done, or maybe get some good food to bring back, or laundry, the thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be, close enough to Cleveland where that could happen. And, interestingly, back when I went to school, you kind of went into a counselor's office and there was some brochures, and you looked at brochures, and whatever looked good, that's kind of, where you went. But fortunately though, I had a good counselor, and the brochure was a very good brochure because one of them was Dayton. And so I explored. It was in Ohio, it was close enough, and size was, conducive, convenient, not too small, not too large. So I just felt that connectedness, that closeness, that that you kind of want in a college, just like you can get in the high school setting. But really, I spent time on campus, and I didn't know what I wanted to major in going into college, so that wasn't a decision. It just had to be, again, a place where I feel like I could just thrive and be me. And I did the overnight, and where you had to spend the night in the dorm and go to class, and the dining hall and all that, which was great because you really got to see like what life is like, at least a little bit what life is like, and in the dorm and that type of thing. But I just sat on a bench, the next day before I was getting picked up, and felt like I could just be me, there in that setting. And I think it was important too to have a faith-based, environment to go to school as well, that would provide us a strong, well-rounded foundation. But yeah, so Dayton was undergrad, and stayed there for two more years for graduate. So actually 6 years, and then but Cleveland ever since has been my home.
Yeah, I get that with, because I went to Bethany College in West Virginia. It was close enough to home to where I could go home if need be, get a good meal, visit family, get some laundry done for sure. But it was far enough away that I could kind of build my own path, if you will. Had a swimming scholarship to swim there in college. That was a big part of it too as well. Especially after coming off a pretty bad shoulder injury, and Bethany keeping their scholarship for me, which shoulder injuries for swimmers is pretty much the kiss of death, it seems like. So they allowed me to be a quote unquote manager of the team my freshman year, so that I could rehab and still keep my scholarship because being part of the team, which I thought was awesome of them to do. And like I said, yeah, it was close enough to where, like I said, if I could go home if need be, and far enough away that the parents couldn't get there quickly if something were not going to their liking, and I had some time to plan out, the old college excuse if things weren't going the way they thought it should be going out there. But Kind of like you, I went in with a different mindset. I thought I was going into business administration
Mm-hmm.
as my major. Quickly realized that economics classes weren't really my forte. So ended up switching my major to broadcasting journalism and communications, and earned a accounting minor in the process of the time being for the first 2 years that I was a business major there. Thought that was going to be the path, and I think that's something that most college students will realize is you think you have a plan going in, and that plan's probably going to change some way, shape, or form. I think because like a lot of people that I've talked to have gone in with one goal in mind and have ended up leaving with another, and it's worked out fantastically for them. So, did you kind of have that with your college career? And I know you were also an athlete there too, as well. We'll get into that in a minute, but
Sure. Well, with the major in college, I think that's one of the things that even now, nowadays people are asked all the time, "What's your major? What do you want to study?" I didn't know going in, and advice that I got going in was, "Hey, just start taking classes of things that you enjoy and see what happens. Maybe that'll be a major." And at the time, I really enjoyed writing and whatever type of writing that was for school, for class. It was to me, I had a knack for it. And I started taking some courses in addition to the regular core courses. And all of a sudden I had a journalism major. So, okay, well, that's junior, senior year, and wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen with that. I did join the campus newspaper, which was a wonderful experience, twice weekly, totally student produced campus newspaper. And again, for those that are a little bit younger, who listen or your audience, like newspaper, what?
what's
But
that? Yeah.
but yeah, well, at the time, yeah, it's still the same concept. You got to produce. In this day, it would just be like the e newspaper. But anyway, so my point is, I took those classes and I had that major, and that's how I decided to pursue journalism. But then senior year came around and didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do post undergrad. And for those that are in a similar spot or maybe going to be or have kids that are kind of at that age where you're graduating and you're not sure job and the market is tough, graduate school is always a great option. Whether it was when I went to school, some time ago, I was going to say decades, but okay, some time ago or now, and it was an option for me. Well, at the time, I sort of joke and say that I didn't see that dream job at GQ magazine knocking at my door, writing feature stories and traveling the world. It was probably going to be covering the Strawberry Festival at Solon, Solon Times, which was probably pretty exciting, in some years, depending on the harvest. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. But they said, "Hey, why don't you stick around and get a graduate degree in in communication, organizational communication, take a lot of different graduate courses and this and that, but you get to teach for 2 years. You have to teach the Com 101 class that the freshman or the required course you have to do that, and teach that every semester." So I thought, okay, that was great. And that's kind of how I stayed on at Dayton for my graduate degree. And the education bug, if you will, bit me there. That's how I got into education, admissions, helping people find their path, their journey, and make those connections, and providing that bridge, that pathway, if you will, to help people get to their next threshold and what they want to do. It was all because I stayed on in graduate school and taught and was in education, and then have been in education as far as an industry ever since.
Yeah, that I mean, I back it was still in the early 2000s. I worked with the newspaper, which quickly shifted to the e newspaper, the e letter as they called it out at Bethany. Also ended up being the sports director for the radio station out there. So I actually got to announce
Right.
every home football, baseball, basketball game, any sporting event that happened there from about 2000 2009 into 2010, like you heard my voice on the radio and on the streaming platform that we my class kind of helped produce and get the TV station and the streaming services up and running for the next generations. We quickly realized that there was a lot of students that were coming from out of state to play sports there, and their parents couldn't get to watch them. So, what better way to reach them is to start that streaming platform and add everything out there. And it's really grown, and I still follow it to this day, you know, and after graduating in 2012 and realizing, you know, that it's now 2025, almost 2026, and it's been that long since I've been in college. It's great to see something that, you know, kind of started with my class and what we did, and it's built up to where it is today. It's an awesome feeling to see, and being able to watch the swim team if I want to catch a meet, and I can. It's a quick go to a link on the website, and I can watch the event to watch
Mhm.
my alma mater swim. It's great for everybody to be able to see. And do you guys kind of have that with, like you said, you were, like I said, you were part of the rowing team at Dayton. So what was that portion like with the sports and the school, with being an athlete and a student at the same time?
Yeah, and the rowing team, the decision to pursue a crew, I guess as they say, happened during the orientation week, you know, at freshman year, and when different clubs were setting up tables all over campus and whatnot. I saw this very long, well, what's called a racing shell, the boat, you know, that houses the 8 people. And when you see it up close, you realize, like, boy, this is like, well, it has to house 8 people, so it's got to be a pretty big, you know, vessel or whatnot. But I just saw that, and a couple of people, really nice people, said, "Hey, are you new here? You looking to join something? Have you ever considered the crew team?" And I said, "Tell me more," you know, and then that's kind of how it started. And at the time, it was a club team. It's been varsity for many years, and actually, it's one of the stronger programs around. So we were kind of one of the early teams at the I guess the inception of the program. But anyway, I any type of organized activity, whether it's a sport or a group, but in this case, it was an athletic activity. But I would always encourage that for anyone, whether it's, you know, varsity or otherwise, because you get to be part of something that requires coordinating, literally coordinating activities and efforts with other people at the same moment in time when you're rowing on the water. And it's just such a precise sport that, looking from the shore, if you ever see people rowing in an 8 person or a 4 person or even just a single you know, boat or shell, it looks effortless. But what's happening is grueling on the water. But to have the opportunity to, even freshman year, well, I say opportunity now, but to wake up before 8 a.m. class and to go down to the river, get in the boat, go up and down the river several times. Oh, mind you, it's dark and you see the sun rise over the city of Dayton. So you see some like beautiful things, all before an 8 a.m. class. And then when everyone else is finishing their omelets and heading to English, you know, you're just, you got done, you know, on the water for an hour and a half of the grueling activity and still have to be ready for that class. So it just puts you in a different frame. And I think ultimately, anytime anyone can do that, the discipline, the focus, the structure, the organization, the being part of something that requires other people to help you and you to help other people. Wow, can you be part of something better than that? And I was fortunate to be part of that program for 4 years. And it's one of those unique sports that not many people get exposed to, because most people, let's face it, it wasn't at my high school. It wasn't at a lot of people's high schools. It's not probably not going to be at a lot of people's colleges, but rowing or crew, for those who know, it's an unbelievable life experience, just because of the lessons that you learn about, you know, camaraderie and focus and grit and all those great things.
Yeah, I get that about the early morning workouts at the swim team out Bethany. We were in the water at 6 a.m. every morning, and we'd get that hour workout in and end up swimming probably close to me being a sprinter was like a mile and a half, 2 miles, and then getting into the showers, getting back, and then we're off to, like you said, the 8 a.m., 8:30 classes, and people were just getting up and getting their coffees and starting their days, and I had a lot of people ask me, like, how do you get to this 8 a.m. class and you're like bright eyed and bushy tail, it seems like, and you're more awake for somebody who hasn't had any coffee yet. Like, how do you do this? Like, I've already swam 2 miles today. Like, I've been up since 5:30 to get myself to the pool and to the natatorium on time so that I can be changed and ready and in the water and start my workout at 6 a.m. And I wouldn't change it for anything because it helped me start my day. I got to be with my teammates, um, not only the male teammates but the female teammates, because everybody was put into individual lanes based on the strokes that you did and if you were a sprinter, if you were distance. So you got to be with some different people, different teammates, and bouncing ideas off of each other early in the morning in the freezing cold water, because those pools were not heated that well, as they should be if you're wanting to get in and go as fast as you can. I don't want to stay in cold water that long. That's my kind of thought process behind it. But that get that wake up call, and to think back to it now, a lot of people are doing like these cold plunges and everything like that, and it's supposed to revive the body. And I think that's kind of what I was doing early on in my career at swimming at Bethany.
Man, you were like way ahead of the curve, just totally light years ahead of that curve, and with that cold bath and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I like that transition. That was a good one. I've actually never done the cold the true cold plunge where you're jumping into that
yeah.
barrel and you're doing the whole thing. And I don't know how long you stay in there, but
Some
yeah,
people say like 2-3 minutes is all it really takes. I can't do it anymore. I'm getting too old for that. I say to myself, like I even like if my shower's not to the right temperature that I like it, it starts getting cold. It's like, all right, time to end the shower. But yeah. I think back to my younger days, and getting in the pool, I think was a max of like, I think 75 degrees was the warmest it got, which sounds warm, but when you're talking about water, like that's pretty cold. So yeah, like I can't do the cold plunges now. Like the cold water just bugs me to death right now.
well, yeah. Let's just hope. Yeah, you don't have to encounter that anytime in the near
Yeah,
future.
I try not to the best that
Yeah,
I can.
I'll keep an eye out for cold water, so that way you don't have to encounter cold water
I
because
appreciate it, Steve.
yeah, we don't want that causing a ruckus. Yeah,
Absolutely. So, like me here, you are a proud dad and husband, and I always am interested to hear how other people balance that, work life, home balance, and how does that work for you?
yeah. No, I'm really glad you brought that up, and because it's really the fabric and the part of, well, I mean, any of us who are lucky to be a parent, know that responsibility too, of course. But you realize that whether, and we have a son, our only child, but if you have one, two, three, whatever, um, when you're balancing just anything or a number of things, but if you have another human being, in the picture that's 100% dependent on you for everything, literally like getting to and from food, this and that, and everything in between. You just realize the magnitude of that. But one thing I will say is, and I think that anyone who moves on in life as you get older, you start measuring time in longer increments. Like, has it been 3 years? Has it been 5 years? Has it been 10 years? Wow. You don't start saying it's been 2 months, it's been 6 months. You start saying decades,
Years.
years and decades. And all of a sudden you're 40 and 45 and 50. And my point is, if you're, if you're a parent or if you're a family member or whatever, um, time moves on, but seemingly moves on more quickly as you get older, and almost to the point where you feel like the accelerator is on and you have to buckle up, and then all those times that you think, oh, yeah, we'll get lunch. We're gonna get lunch one of these days. We're gonna get lunch. You're gonna get lunch for 10 years. You got to do
Yeah.
it. And I know the question was, you've got a son, in high school. How do you balance, that? But but I guess the bigger point is, um, be present, and like actually be present in the moments that you have. And if you're with a friend or a family member or a partner or a child, if you're somewhere, be present, and not present like looking at like what just popped up on your phone, but be present with that person, because there's something powerful when two people are, or any number of people are experiencing something. So you just want to make sure that there's the humanness of it all, there's the connectedness, and that you're actually like experiencing life with that person. And there's going to be technology and digital stuff here and there along the way, but it's scary when there's no blueprint or roadmap or instruction manual. And I joke about that with my wife all the time. And even when we first brought him home in the carrier, we videotaped it from the car ride home from the hospital, and we sat down in the living room, and I think I said something like, now what? Oh, like, what do we do now? Like, oh my gosh, like, this is like, it's a big moment. But everyone has those types of moments. If it's a new job, or if it's, family or a life change. But my point again, life moves quicker as we get older. So you don't want to be the person saying, I wish I would have done that. I wish I, would have done that. Like, you don't want to be that. Like, people keep saying that to me, and it's like, I want to follow that advice.
Absolutely. I still remember used to like my parents are, but I'm like, oh, don't take this for granted. It's going to go faster than you think. Life hits you harder than you think. It comes quicker than you think. And to think back to, the the wife and I, and we've been together 10 years, and just saying that, we haven't been married for 10 years, but we've been together for the better part of 10 years now. And that's just to think, like, I can still remember the first day. Like, I used to ask my grandfather, like, how do you remember the first day you and grandma met? And you can still recall that day. It's because it seems like it was yesterday that we, that we met each
Yeah.
other and we got together. And when you're with the right person, I don't think you realize how long it's been since since you were together. And I always say, I have my son. He is a stepson to me. His biological dad, not the picture. So I don't even say stepson anymore. But I also have two other bonus kids and stepdaughters that are grown, older.
Mhm.
One just graduated nursing and became an RN. So it's just the nostalgia of things and thinking, oh yeah, I'm in my 30s, almost my 40s, and I technically have three kids. Like, that's just it. I never thought it would be uh, to that point. And I don't know when it happened or how it happened, but here I am 10 years later, with a little bit more gray in my beard than I had then before, for sure. Um, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And you were right. Be present. Being present with whatever is going on, no matter what it is.
Mhm.
Sporting
Yeah.
events, schooling things, anything, or just being together at the house and being present with that person. If I'm around my son and we're hanging out or doing anything at all, like, I pretty much turn my phone off, every electronic that I have, just so I can just be there, and because I know the time's going to come when he's not home anymore and he's off doing his own thing. And as a dad, you don't want that day to come. But
Right.
as a man, you want him to grow as into his own person. So it's kind of a balance you have with that too as well. So it's great to see him grow and it become his own man.
Yeah, they say you're the center of their center of attention, like for their whole lives. And there's that one moment where they say, where your kids might say, or whoever, if you're a guardian or whatever, oh, you can just drop me off like a little bit further down the drive, like down on the street, not in front of the house, just like down here.
Yeah,
And then you kind of like don't become the center, so to speak. But it's all part of the journey. And um, yeah, I guess you want to instill, behaviors and characteristics and emotions and skills that can help prepare young people or whoever to become independent and decision makers. And boy, it's not easy, but you get to in some way relive like childhood or high school and or whatever it might be through the eyes of someone else. But you realize that, boy, we thought it was tough when we were in school. Every generation, they always says, "Oh, it was so tough when we were in school." But now with technology and instant information, and boy, it's tough. I give a lot of credit to schools, especially like elementary, high schools, but certainly like the higher education, because it's a formative time for people and young people, and we have to be support structures for that growth and development.
absolutely. My wife and I joke around all the time, like you couldn't pay me to go back to and be a high schooler these days versus what we did when we were there with just the instant gratification and the instant everything's there. It's to the technology age. Yeah, I don't envy them. I would not want to do it now, knowing how I was when I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, and it was a much simpler time. And yeah, we joke about it all the time. And my son's just like, but we have everything right here. It's like, yeah, but do you? Like, I mean, I still remember my dad when I would get home from school, would be like, "Is your homework done? Yeah, you came home from practice. All right, get out of the house. I'll see you at dark." Like, like that was
Right.
we didn't have phones or video games or things that we were tied to. But I guess they're making memories in their own ways and in different ways, and they'll be telling their kids and that it was
Yeah.
so different when I was growing up. It was
Yeah.
it was simpler then, So I'm sure everyone thinks it was
Well,
simpler in their
well,
time.
it's funny because I think my our kids, and I'm thinking of my son's a senior in high school. They'll be telling stories about, um, what we had to get to school, put our phone in a pouch the entire day. We couldn't get it till the end of the day, and then the kids are like, "No way! You had to put your phone in a pouch? No way, Dad."
Yeah,
That's what they're gonna be talking about, and it's happening because this is the first year that, at least in my son's school, that's happening. But I know it's been happening, at other places for a while. But this, can you imagine a world like one year you have access to that device all day, conceivably, or you don't have access to it? I think this might be interesting. Like all these younger students, these children or whatever you want to call them, are without their devices during the day. That might be a good thing, but it's just
yeah.
interesting because think about what would you be like if someone said, "Hey, from 8 to 3:15, you got to put your phone over here and you can't touch it." Like, just think about that. That's for their kids. This is what their life is like when you do that, and just so I always think of what would that be like if we impose that on us,
It's
right?
a that's a big change. You don't realize how much you use your devices and technology and all that nowadays until you can't,
Mhm.
or you're not allowed to use it or anything like that. So yeah, it's
Right.
definitely a big change. With you being there at Case Western Reserve University, you actually worked with former guest of the show. We talked about this a little bit before we got started, in Cole Schneider, but also formerly of Case Western, the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. What was it like working with these guys?
Yeah, I would say total chaos. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, I'm just kidding.
That's so
No,
good.
I'm just kidding. Honestly, like these both of these guys are just phenomenal people. And I know they're both affiliated with the show in different ways. But when you have quality human beings, the people that you can talk to and actually like ask like substantive questions and have a good conversation, you've got like someone who's good to know and you want on your side. But I'm very fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with Johnny Falcone, who's part of the podcast, and Cole, a guest on the show. And just great guys. And they say, you've heard of this, that you're known by the company you keep. And
Yeah.
so I'm proud to know these guys. And but that's just it's a good message, just be around people that you want to, either learn something from, or that make you feel better, that and pick you up, that inspire you. And because you want to surround yourself with those people, even if that's not like all day every day, but it's just like parts of your day, parts of the week.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think Johnny and I talk on a daily basis, whether it's via text or call. It's always super early. We both know we're early risers, and seems like my phone's going off with the text message tone before my alarm sometimes with Johnny, and getting text about what's going on, what ideas he has for the show, and everything like that, and a lot of times it's just us just shooting the shit and just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, and I think you need those people around you, for sure. And a lot of former guests still message me to this day. A lot of them are some are former college athletes, some are still college athletes, some are pro athletes. I follow everybody that has been
Yeah.
on the show, um, and try to keep up with as many people as I can. But we're coming down near episode
Yeah.
260, 261, so it's getting
Yeah.
a little harder and harder to try to try to keep up with everybody.
Let me ask you something. I mean,
Yeah.
you've talked to a lot of people and a lot of different topics and a lot of different things. What do you know? Like, what trend do you notice among the people that you're talking to, as far as if you had to like extrapolate like high level life lessons? Like, what are the things that you're just even hearing from time to time from your guests about how they live, what they do, lessons they've learned, anything just like kind of emerge as like high level takeaways from all these conversations you've had?
Oh man. There's so many. Um, a lot of it comes down to um, kind of along the lines of what you were saying, being present, and just being in the moment and not trying to look too far ahead into the future, because if you start looking that far ahead, you're going to miss stuff that's happening right now. That's been a lot of the big things that I've noticed, and just a lot of, like, even like I said, I've talked to a lot of former athletes, also a lot of current athletes, professional athletes, and you know having dreams and goals and everything like that, but knowing those don't define you. If you have to take a loss and learn from it. It's you're not losing, you're learning. That has been,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the biggest things, but the main one is always, just be present. Just don't think too far ahead, because you're going to miss what's happening right in front of you.
Right. Yeah. And just like thinking and planning and this and that. Yeah. The moment is the moment. And that's, yeah. And then the moment is gone, 5 seconds,
Yeah.
from now, but that's okay because you experienced it and it's worth experiencing it. And this whole thing called life that we're on, it's a privilege and it's a journey. And as they say, someone told me once, when you're networking, like in an event, you don't want to sit on the aisle, like on the end, because you miss out on like a chance to meet someone. So you sit where you have someone on either side of you so you have two chances to meet someone. Or when you're in line at a buffet anywhere, assuming it's an event where you should be meeting people, that's a great chance to talk to the person in front of you or behind you. Like, these are built-in ways to like have warm conversations. But again, the lesson is just, people, you can connect with people in ways that are low pressure, that have potentially high value, high outcome. You just have to look for the opportunity, and sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. But why not, right? And
Absolutely.
why not?
Absolutely. And yeah, that's always how I've tried to live and grow my careers, as somebody who's been working at becoming a full-time stand-up comedian for the past 13 years. It's definitely a grind, not for the faint of heart, but I'm not looking too far ahead. I'm trying to stay grounded in everything that I'm doing with this. But Steve, I just realized how long we've been sitting here and talking, and we are running down here.
Sure, yeah, we can. No, we're good. Well, yeah, that's fine. We'll this session, maybe we'll wrap up this episode. But you got the wheel, you got the command. So
I would say, well, I have one more segment I have to get in here near the end of the episode. Anybody who's listened to it, it is the Fast 55, and that is 5 random questions from the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. These are kind of rapid fire for the new listeners out there. Steve, you can't elaborate if you will need to, but if you are ready, someone who's worked with Johnny for these questions, we'll go ahead. We'll start the Fast 55.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. Would you rather be a famous sumo wrestler or a famous keyboard player?
Keyboard player.
Okay. Number 2. What's the best place you've ever visited?
Maui.
Maui. Okay. Question number 3. What's the last book you read?
Becoming a Resident Leader.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. That was the textbook. The book was Resident Leadership by Richard Boyatzis.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Question number 4. Who is your favorite actor ever?
Actor ever. Robin Williams.
That's a phenomenal answer on that one. I don't think anybody would disagree on that one for sure. That's a phenomenal choice. And last but not least, if you had to be either the color brown or purple, which color would you be?
Purple.
Purple. It's a good choice. It's my favorite color. I'll go with that one. I'll roll with that one. That was a Fast 55. I feel like since he's worked with you, he took it a little easier than usual for people on that one. But yeah, it's just a fun way we like to try to wind down the episode here. But Steve, I do give every guest this opportunity at the end of the show. If there's anything you want to get out there, I know we've already talked about a couple good messages in there. If it's that, or if it's something for Case Western Reserves, anything you want to get out there, I'm going to give you about a minute, and the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. No, appreciate being on here. I would say to anyone at any stage of their lives, always remember to be kind, be good. Don't do it because you expect kindness in return. Make sure that you treat other people with inclusion and welcome, and make people feel safe. That's what I would say. That's how you should treat people in life. And if you're looking to expand your other parts of your life, your academic parts, your leadership, of course, Weatherhead and Case can assist you with that. But just make sure that you be good, because you'll start measuring time by decades, and you want to make sure that that you've got a lot of good things to talk about when you talk about those decades that are going by.
That's phenomenal, and I always love it when guests have a good message at the end of the show. I love to end the show that way. I'm all for helping people get out what they have to get out, but when it's a good message like that, it's a great way to end the episode. And on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I want to thank my guest, Steve Scheidt, for joining the show. This was a lot of fun to get to sit and talk with you, learn a little bit more about your story and everything that you got going on. Really appreciate you coming on. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by W Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Scheidt Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rocket on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.